So it's the end of 2024. You are thinking about making a move here in Colorado Springs, or maybe you're in the armed forces, in which case, thank you so much for serving our nation, and they're moving you here to Colorado Springs. If this is you, you've probably found yourself asking the question, is it a good time to buy a home in Colorado Springs? Well, this video is gonna attempt to answer that question for you. Let's do it. All right, let's start this out by making things really simple for you. I don't want to waste your time watching this whole video if it isn't applicable to you. It is never a good time to buy a home if your finances aren't set up for it. If you're maybe struggling really heavily with credit, maybe you don't have any money set aside to make a home purchase happen. Basically, if you don't have your ducks in a row, it's never gonna be a good time to make a home purchase. We'll do a whole nother video coming out soon about how to get all of your ducks in a row, but we're kind of assuming on this video that you're ready to make a purchase. You're just trying to decide, is it actually a good time to do so? I never want to push somebody who's not in a financial position to buy a home to buy a home. But assuming you are, this video's for you. Let's say you've saved up a down payment, have your closing costs ready, credit's in decent shape. Is now a good time, or should you be waiting maybe through the new year, later into 2025, something like that? Well, to answer that question, I want to start with the idea of a buyer's versus a seller's market. This idea of a buyer's versus a seller's market kind of follows the basic economic principle you've probably heard of before, supply and demand. It's a buyer's market if there's way more homes than there are buyers, more supply than there is demand. And it's a seller's market when the opposite is true. Way more buyers than there are homes to buy. More demand than there is supply. A good example of a seller's market, we actually had it recently in the middle of the pandemic craziness. Homes, you probably heard about it, or maybe you experienced it. Every home, the second it hit the market, is going with multiple offers, above asking price. You needed all kinds of cash. It was insanity. Definitely a great example of a seller's market. And the idea here is that in that sort of market, the seller has all of the leverage. A buyer is very unlikely to get a great deal if it's a heavily seller skewed market. And that was definitely the case in Colorado Springs for a few years there. The interesting thing is things have sort of shifted and changed and moved the other direction here in our city. Really, it's not just our city. A lot of markets are experiencing this. And I would say, in my experience, we are very solidly in a buyer's leaning market now. So there are more homes, there's way more inventory than there are buyers. And this means that a few things are actually happening on the market. One, homes are sitting on the market way longer than usual. Two, we're seeing way more price reductions than I've seen in a long time. Actually ever since I've been selling here in Colorado Springs. And lastly, this is really good for buyers. You're able oftentimes as a buyer to negotiate way more stuff. Things like money at the closing table to help you cover closing costs or buy down your interest rate. Lower price points, more in like seller repairs and things like that. Let me give you some numbers to help illustrate what's going on. I'm not gonna make it too complicated, but let's just compare November 2024 now, effectively, to November 2023. Here in Colorado Springs, we've got a little over 2,500 homes on the market right now. In November of last year, we had a little under 1,900. So we've got about a 600 home swing, 600 more homes this year on the market at this time than we did the same time last year. Basically, if you're a home buyer in Colorado Springs right now, you've got a really good shot at one, getting a great deal on a home, as well as having way more options to choose from when we're out looking for a home. Now, another great way I think to kind of put your finger on the pulse and figure out what's going on in a given market is to find out what's happening with new construction homes. What are the builders doing in a given city? New homes have been kind of a big focus for me. I've sold a lot of new homes. I've even sat model homes for builders over the course of my real estate career. And in my experience, you can always tell what's going on based on the kind of price reductions and lending incentives that new construction builders are offering to incentivize you to come buy their homes. Right now, builders are running massive programs and incentives here in Colorado Springs. One builder I work with really regularly has price discounts to the tune of like $30,000 to $50,000 off of what the homes were listed at earlier this year and were selling for earlier this year. And on top of that, they're offering like $30,000-ish in lending incentives for you to buy down interest rate and all that kind of stuff. I am also seeing a really wide selection of inventory at pretty much every builder, where they've got homes, you can like build something from dirt. They've got stuff in like frame stage, so a couple months out. They've got finished homes ready to close immediately. So this is really just another sign that right now there is more supply than there is demand, which definitely works in your favor as a buyer. Now, the kind of follow-up question that a reasonable person would ask is this going to continue? The honest, transparent answer is nobody really knows. Anyone that says they know doesn't. They're lying. And in my experience, predicting the future is one of the quickest ways to get yourself burned at the stake. So that said, if I was forced to make a prediction, I would expect that things are gonna start shifting the other direction. Maybe not this extreme, pendulum swing, but at least a shift the other direction as we move into 2025. And the reason I think that is because there's really, I think, two really big factors that have contributed to this supply-demand kind of shift this year. And the two big things are, one, interest rates, and two, election uncertainty, craziness, hysteria. Now that we've kind of moved past the fear and hysteria and just craziness that comes with any election season, and they're just getting crazier and crazier every time, it seems, I anticipate buyers are gonna be moving a little more back to the market as kind of the dust settles and everything normalizes in the world a little bit. And in regards to interest rates, I don't know that we're gonna see a massive shift, but I would anticipate that as a new president comes in and wants to help increase favorability early on, it wouldn't shock me to see some pressure put on the Federal Reserve to pull the interest down a little bit, but really hard to know. There's so many factors that affect interest rates. I really hate trying to predict that, but wouldn't shock me to see them come down. So the summary of this video is really this. If I were moving to Colorado Springs right now, or just considering buying in Colorado Springs, I'd be feeling pretty great as a home buyer about the opportunities that seem to lay in front of me. So hope that was helpful. If it created any follow-up questions, you can leave a comment below, or all of our info and contact and all that kind of stuff is down in the description. Feel free to reach out anytime. We're happy to help, happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. We'll see you on the next one.